Oops.
How in the... Setsuna looks up to the sky while Toma and I stare at the car. And then each of us lets out a sigh of astonishment for our own reasons. What is this? How did it build up this much already? Before we even realized it, the snow had set in across the road we were driving on, and we were surrounded by walls of snow on both sides. Toma's car then skidded on the snow-paved road and collided into the white wall, with the left side door completely buried in it.
There wasn't a trace of snow up until now.
Making our way into the mountain roads and distracted by the snow falling from the sky, we received a baptism by the snow that we hadn't before noticed, that hadn't melted from before.
Snow! There's snow all around us! We're finally here!
No, our destination is still a bit further. The distraction that the snowing fall provided, coupled with the trap created by the piled up snow on the ground, completely screwed us over.
You were right, Kitahara. A small lapse in focus proved to be fatal.
A winch! The road service! No, I'll run to the end first. Take that! As I was losing my mind over how careless I had been, divine punishment struck me like a bolt out of the blue.
It's cold! It's so cold! We can have a snowball fight! We can build a snowman too!
Guided by the hands of Setsuna, who's become like a small puppy zooming around a garden.
I messed up. I messed up big time. I guess I still have a ways to go.
Setsuna, not yet. Don't start enjoying yourself yet. We have to get the car out of the snow first. And you, Toma, stop laughing and help me over here.
Just a little more. After we've made a snowman, okay?
Wow, it's really coming down. It'd be funny if we got buried under the snow together with the car at this rate.
Come on. It's hopeless. They've both lost it. It's been a fairly surreal day, riddled with surreal events. After making countless mistakes from dawn until dusk, and getting ourselves in trouble over and over again, we've come to find our misfortunes amusing, and we've started laughing and enjoying ourselves. What can you do, huh? A day as unique as this has its own charm, no doubt. With this thought in mind, and seeing the two in front of me enjoying themselves and laughing sincerely, I find myself overwhelmed with joy as well.
Okay then. Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. With 2 oolong teas and some artificially flavored orange juice, we make a proper toast. Never mind the issue of whether there's anything proper about having 1 male student and 2 female students on an overnight trip at a mountain hot springs.
Wow! It looks so delicious! Celebrating Christmas with sashimi, tempura, and hot pot isn't half bad either, right?
Christmas pudding and steamed egg custard are kind of similar. Ingredient-wise,
We also have chicken, floating like dumplings inside the pod. After all that happened, we somehow managed to contact the inn staff and were promptly rescued.
But wow! It's really amazing outside! It's a white Christmas!
yeah, really.
That's exactly why we picked this place after all. After telling us that accidents happen a lot on this road, the inn employee used his 4-wheel drive vehicle to expertly tow our car out of the snow.
By the way, the open-air hot springs were amazing! There's no roof, so the snow falls right inside the bath.
It was so cold. I thought I was going to freeze to death as I came out of the water.
It's true that it was cold, but it felt really good. You should have gone and tried it out too, Haruki-kun.
I didn't have any energy left for that. As soon as we arrived at the inn, I was rapidly overcome with fatigue from the day and passed out on the room's floor until dinner time.
For spending so much energy, you weren't all that helpful.
You guys sure are full of energy, though. Meanwhile, Toma, who drove for hours, and Setsuna, who was hyper for hours, have been enjoying everything one can on a hot springs trip. Ever since we arrived, they've been exploring the inn, searching for souvenirs to buy, taking a bath, and playing ping pong.
Must be because we've been training differently until now. Especially during the past 2 months, I hardly had any time to sleep.
November was my fault, sure, but you brought December upon yourself. Besides, I went through the same thing as her.
Looking back, it's been a really difficult year. Okay, drink up. Let's drink.
Setsuna, you're making this feel like a year-end party.
This clearly is a year-end party. If you claimed that this was a Christmas party, Westerners would scorn you. Choosing this place for our trip may have been where we all went wrong, for starters.
It doesn't matter whether it's Christmas party or a year-end party. I'm here with the people I want to be with.
Okay, Princess Setsuna. Your wish is our command.
In any case, if I rationally look at myself sharing a hot pot with 2 beautiful girls who just came out of their baths in sexy yukatas, well, why not? Merry Christmas! Honestly, I'm so happy I could die here right now. I hate how the atmosphere is definitely making me sound a lot like an old man. But no matter how I look at it, this situation is already criminal.
I'd like to say thank you to everyone for taking the time out of your busy lives to join us here today.
Oh, I already know that moments are enjoyable as these are sure to pass by in a flash. The feast that had been laid out on the table has already finished, and it's time for everyone to close out the year-end party with a toast.
We're gathered here today for a Christmas party and year-end party, a graduation trip that's a little early, and, that's right. You could also call this a reunion party for the Hojo High School Light Music Club.
Reunion? It's not like we're disbanding though, are we?
Sorry, Takia. I'll never forget about you. Of course, I'm not so stupid as to bring up your name here. You, of all people, should understand, right?
Then let's call it the Light Music Club Group Reunion number 0. How about that?
I mean, just look at how happy our host is today.
This is number 0, okay? We'll do number 1 and number 2. We'll have as many as you'd like, okay? What I mean is, I want us to meet up again next year on this day, watching the snow, taking baths together, chatting into the night.
If there's anything that could ruin her smile.
I can't promise that, Setsuna.
I couldn't possibly do it, but there was no way for me to stop Toma from uttering that either.
I have no idea what will happen in the future. I'm on a different path from you two. The same day, next year. I can't promise that.
But no matter how busy you get, just once a year should...
But hey, what if I get a boyfriend?
I've made a mistake. The first person to be taken aback by that proclamations should have been Setsuna.
And then, if I end up only thinking about that person constantly, every single day, and start to not care about my old friends anymore.
Come on, stop that. Why are you bringing that up right now? It's Christmas, isn't it? The reason I'm stopping Toma right now is supposed to be in consideration of Setsuna's feelings.
Exactly because it's Christmas, okay? Isn't this a day one would normally spend with their lover?
That only applies to Japan. In other countries, it's a day to spend with your family or go to church, you know? I wasn't supposed to stop Toma simply because I didn't want to hear her talk about that.
Same goes for you, Setsuna. You might change your mind and want to be alone with Kitahara next year. If that happens, the promise we make here today could prove to be a little hindrance.
Whenever the three of us are together, it has to be all three of us. Always.
Setsuna.
It can't be the two of us. Or just one of us. It has to be the three of us.
The warm and pleasant mood is slowly freezing over now. Just like the feeling of emerging from an open-air bath in the hot springs while it's snowing.
Whenever the three of us are together, Haruki-kun is a precious friend of mine. And whenever the three of us are together, Kazusa is a friend I wouldn't trade for anything. Can't it work like that?
That is exactly the way Setsuna is acting right now. Whenever the three of us are together, she tries her best not to act like my girlfriend. At first, and because it was so early in our relationship, she couldn't control herself at times. But around the time our final started, she began to draw a clear line. Rather than merely following our 3-second rule, Setsuna had been holding back from doing anything that might involve that rule recently.
Are you suggesting that you want me, and even Kitahara, to keep playing house like this with you every year?
Toma, stop it! Even so, Toma continues to provoke us, threatening to cross a line that shouldn't be crossed.
That's just terribly convenient for you. Utterly selfish and self-centered. You're completely disregarding your friends and your boyfriend's personal thoughts on the matter. Can't you see how unbelievably egotistic that is?
I don't know what lies beyond that line. There may not even be anything there, though I admit that I feel an instinctive urge to peer into that abyss, to catch a glimpse of Toma's true feelings.
It's true that it's selfish. It is a dream that I've envisioned all by myself.
Despite being confronted with such a dark sentiment, Setsuna firmly stares back at Toma with resolve in her eyes.
But I can't help it. After all, the three of us stood together on that stage, didn't we?
That's no different from my own thoughts at all. It feels like something that I would say.
The three of us sang, played, and worked on that song for an entire night. The three of us waited in excitement for this curtain to rise. The three of us were cheered by the audience together, were we not?
In fact, I once confronted Toma with words that were meant to convey the exact same meaning, just like how Setsuna is now.
I want to talk about that day forever. I want to remember it for years to come. And, if possible, I want to sing with you two backing me once again.
That's right. I remember. It was the day that I revealed to Toma that I was dating Setsuna.
Sorry. Thinking about what I just said, it really is terribly selfish.
Setsuna's just like me. She holds no reservations towards the two others present with her, and confidently expresses her love towards them. And that's precisely why I feel unsure sometimes. On that night, why did Setsuna urge me into making a decision?
If you're going to go that far, let me see you prove it.
In response to Setsuna's stare and feelings, Toma replies after a short silence and glares back.
Well, what do you mean?
She slowly reaches behind her back and then puts her hand in the table once again.
To eternal friendship.
With her thumb ready on the cork of the bottle.
That's... How am I supposed to...
Whoa! A high-pitched pop echoes throughout the room.
If you really want the three of us to stay together, Setsuna, I'll have you accompany me to the bitter end today.
Then the sizzling sound of a carbonated drink slowly fills the room.
We're drinking till morning. I am absolutely not letting you sleep.
The bottle's label reads champagne, and underneath the label is a brand name that I feel like I've seen somewhere before. Vintage is written further below, along with 4 numbers that most likely represent the year it was made. Wait, isn't that one of those famous brands only people at high-class Ginza bars drink?
Once again, Merry Christmas! Come on, Setsuna. You're taking this way too seriously. Hey, Setsuna, how about another glass?
She totally played me. Kazusa just totally made me embarrass myself.
Setsuna, you're so adorable. If I were a guy, I would never let someone like Kitahara have you.
Keep me out of this.
I never let a cruel guy like Kazusa deceive me.
Even while complaining like this, Setsuna snuggles up against Kazusa, probably too embarrassed from being played on. She drank each of the 3 glasses Toma poured in a single go. Of course, only after doing so did she appear to realize that what she was drinking wasn't one of those 200 yen carbonated drinks you enjoy with your family at Christmas parties.
A cruel guy, huh? That's right. I wouldn't be her type. Her boyfriend is the complete opposite of me. Make her happy, Kitahara.
I was naive to think that Setsuna was the only one drunk.
Hey, don't talk about steamy stuff like that now. All right, whenever the 3 of us are together.
Yes. It has to be all 3 of us, always. I didn't forget, Setsuna. There.
Yeah, that's right. It's always 3. Haruki-kun is here, Kazusa is here, and I'm...
Wait. Hey, Setsuna. Don't cling to me like that. Hey, Kitahara.
Don't cry to me for help. You're the one who made her drink. You reap what you sow. Actually, it's more like I find the scene of 2 girls clinging to each other while only wearing their yukatas to be way too sexy. I refuse to break up such a wonderful scene. I swear upon my life to preserve this in its natural state.
Kazusa, your hair is so silky. I saw you in the bath too. Your skin was all white.
I'd say your skin is whiter, Setsuna. And your back is smooth, too.
Thank you. It smells so good.
Wait, Setsuna?
Good work there. Want another glass?
I don't think I can stand not drinking at this point.
A textbook example of poetic justice indeed. Toma swiftly downs another glass after allowing the exhausted Setsuna, who is already leaning against her, to lie on her lap. And I turn my head as if to say, this has nothing to do with me. But even though I've turned my head away, I keep catching glimpses of the curves sticking out around their chests, their legs stretching out bewitchingly from the hems of their clothing, and other fantastical regions. I'm glad that we came here, but if I could make a single wish, I'd like just a little time for myself. Like, right now.
Anyway, Kitahara, you seem pretty sober.
This stuff is delicious.
Is that the actual reason?
A long time ago, I went to one of Takiya's gatherings and tried some cheap 300 yen per bottle stuff, but I felt like vomiting after the third glass. Naturally, I'll skip the part about the occasion having been a cosplay porn viewing event.
Well, maybe you've got a little fat in your stomach now?
That makes it sound like there's something wrong with my metabolism.
This stuff is probably several tens of thousands of yen per bottle. My mom sent it from France.
Well, that's where champagne is from, so bourgeoisie as ever, aren't we?
I normally drink cheap port wine. This is ridiculously sweet and delicious in comparison.
No, just don't drink normally to begin with.
Oh, come on. I'm a delinquent, you know? I've gotta act at least a bit like one, or I'll be setting a bad example, you know?
What's a really bad example is how you're old-fashionedly labeled a delinquent in this day and age. When even stereotypes like delinquents and trendy garus are becoming obsolete these days. Who'd imagine there's still someone going against the adults head on?
That's right. Over the past 2 years, I've been going around and acting like an old-fashioned idiot.
I'm sure you'll die of embarrassment once you grow up and tell people about your past. When that time comes, I'll be the one telling the story to everyone. I wouldn't mind seeing an adult Toma blushing and seething with rage.
Yet, what am I going to do? Hanging out with prim and proper people like that. Hanging out with prim and proper people like the class president and the school idol. Seriously participating in a school festival. Studying, having fun, pretending that just drinking and messing around like this is some kind of huge event?
Heh, you've evolved.
You'd call this evolution?
At the very least, you've become more like a modern person.
A modern person, huh?
Whether you would call it a profession or art, you're playing music to stand out. And you've dropped the lame act of pretending to be aloof and isolated.
That's not very convincing coming from someone who's been acting like an honor student, which is even more lame and old-fashioned.
That's why I tried to cut loose a little. Like breaking school rules, taking up music to look cool, and going on a trip with girls.
That last one is super modern person-like. I'm amazed a guy like you could pull it off, Kitahara.
Even though it's a trip to a hot springs in the mountains?
The snow isn't letting up, huh?
You're right.
It's pure white. Will we be able to leave tomorrow?
You're right. Until now, I would have asked a tasteless question like that. Will we be able to leave tomorrow? But I've begun to understand just a little what it's like to be romantic, as well as what would be considered tasteless.
What?
Oh, nothing. That's why I don't turn my gaze away, even when Toma realizes I'm quietly staring at her.
Really?
And There, Toma turned her eyes away first. I win. Her face is slightly blushed. Because of that, it's impossible for me to turn my eyes away. It's pretty.
Yeah, it's all white.
Right. White and smooth, wasn't it?
That's Setsuna.
I see. I blanked out for an hour trying to sober myself up. Then, I enjoyed the sight of Setsuna sleeping on Toma's lap, and Toma dozing off while leaning against the wall for a little while, before quietly leaving the room. Of course, I didn't forget to cover those two with blankets, because it's late at night, and since there are hardly any guests staying overnight, I pretty much have the entire bath area to myself. Is this inn going to be okay financially? It'd be a waste of such a great hot springs. As I settle into the vacant bath, my voice spilled out in amazement, fading into the night sky together with the fluttering of white snowflakes. The snow that began at nightfall shows no signs of letting up, and it cools down the hot water a little as it falls into the bath. I take a moment to look up at the white snow falling from the sky, then slowly close my eyes and relax my entire body. But as I willingly submit myself to darkness, the most recent scenery I saw immediately comes to mind. Calm down. The sight of the two girls sleeping so nonchalantly near me, while leaning against each other, as if they had been close friends for years. I think whichever deity made it possible for me to bear witness to that moment. I suppose I should pray to God, given that it's Christmas. And I finally came to a conclusion as I continue staring at the sight that I can't get enough of. Every time I met with Setsuna, every time I touch her, it's like she always manages to thrust an adorable new side of herself onto me. And Toma, she's even more beautiful now than ever before. I misjudged her. Ever since I met her, regardless of her personality and attitude, I always believed that her sublimely crafted beauty would never change. I believed that it was an impossible miracle given to Toma by chance, and completely separate from her nature. But I was wrong. Whenever Toma laughs, teases me, sighs, or looks at me with an expression I can't understand, whenever she turns her eyes away from me with an expression I can't understand, she spectacularly shows off her newfound beauty to me, as if to challenge all of my existing concepts of what beauty is. Setsuna herself looks incredibly beautiful as she sleeps right next to her. And given she also has a cute side that only I know about, she's so dear to me that I want to embrace her forever. Even so, my other friend is right in front of me, the friend of my girlfriend. She's the only one I'm still longing for from the bottom of my heart. I don't even need to think about it. I'm the worst there is. As if being chased away, I get up from the bath. It feels like more and more of my hideousness might leak out if I stay submerged in this spring any longer. For the time being, I'll go back into the room, cover myself up with a blanket from head to toe, and hopefully sleep through the night dreamlessly. I'll be sleeping in the corner of the room right next to the girls' room, divided by a sliding door, of course. Who else would want to take a bath at this time of night?
Wait, are you serious? Are you in your right mind, Setsuna? You're still drunk, aren't you?
Am I drunk? Or maybe I'm just sleepwalking, huh?
Huh? From the changing room, someone is... No, some people are approaching. Their silhouettes that were initially hidden behind the steam are becoming clearer with every step they take.
Stop! Don't push me. We can't come in here now. He's still...
There he is! Haruki-kun!
The snow cooled off my body as I came out of the bath, and as I suddenly re-entered, it naturally feels unbearably hot. Even though it's common sense, it doesn't even occur to me because of this situation I'm in. Don't look! Don't look at me!
That's what I should be saying. You don't get to say stuff like that when we're the ones barging in, Kazusa.
In front of my eyes, 2 bath towels. Wait, no, that's not what I mean. I got excited just from seeing their white legs earlier, but this time they're even showing off their dazzling thigh. Wait, no. Why exactly? With only those towels for cover, their body lines are so visible that it's enough to put me in a bind.
The bath here is connected on the inside. I realized it earlier when I came in.
I'm not asking about the method, I'm asking about the motive.
I'd like to know as well.
We promised together earlier. Whenever the 3 of us are together, it has to be all 3 of us.
Wait, you mean even in situations like this?
Large baths feel so nice, huh?
Setsuna's voice, interspersed with long sighs, echoes together with the sound of her scooping up the water with her hands. From right behind me. I'm disappointed in you, Toma. You were with her, so how could you allow this blunder to—
She's your girlfriend, Kirahara. You do something about it.
And you're her best friend. Why didn't you stop her? We're soaking ourselves in the bath together, with almost 0 distance between us. We're so close that I can feel the ripples from the water every time Setsuna moves.
I did try to stop her. I refused. But...
Jeez, would you 2 stop fighting already? It feels so good, so let's all be a bit nicer to each other, okay?
How are you so okay with this, Setsuna? Not to mention, Setsuna's shoulders keep pushing against mine. They really are smooth, just like Toma had said earlier.
Because I knew you wouldn't shamelessly stare at us, Haruki-kun. I was sure you would keep your gaze turned away no matter what.
She saw right through me.
I kept teasing her, remember? I imagined she was holding a grudge over that.
Sure, you deserve your payback. That makes sense. But what about me? The 2 of you are just bullying me here.
You're bathing with 2 girls. What more could you ask for?
There should be a limit to things that one can ask for. Anyway, in my best attempts to avoid a cliché, I focus on blocking my nostrils to prevent bleeding.
It's fine, isn't it? People say to forget any sense of shame when you go on a trip, right? Even if it's embarrassing now, it'll make for a good memory someday.
I feel like Toma will hit me every time I try to remember it.
What a coincidence, Kirahara. I was actually just imagining the same situation, clenching my fist and swinging it full force.
These are such nice hot springs with such great scenery, right? Let's enjoy ourselves more.
It's pitch black though.
Can't see anything but the snow though.
No matter how many times I look, I won't get tired of this night.
Completely ignoring our banter, Setsuna happily looks up at the snowy sky. Given how astonished and cheerful she is, as well as how much she's relishing the situation, one could assume that this is her first time seeing snow.
This is the best. I don't ever want to go back.
Setsuna. While looking at the sky, Setsuna rests her head on my shoulder. I can smell the scent of shampoo coming from her wet hair, and I can feel the pleasant weight of someone leaning against me with the slightest hint of restraint.
I feel kinda sleepy. If I fall asleep, please carry me to the room, okay?
Me? If I were to stick to proper bathing etiquette, that would mean carrying Setsuna with only a towel on?
That's fine. It would be an accident if it happened, so I can't blame you for sneaking a peek.
Just no match for Setsuna, huh?
You're one to talk after making me cry over earlier there, Kazusa.
I was barely making a small quip there. Well, you're unleashing this overkill retaliation on me for it.
While saying that, I'm sure that Toma, too, is gracefully relaxing her entire body as she gazes absent-mindedly at the snowy sky.
There's no way a nobody like me would ever be a match for Setsuna.
I'm sure, because I can feel her long black hair brushing against my shoulders as well.
I just can't win.
And then, Toma.
What is it?
No, our backs are touching. She's definitely aware of it. Right after Setsuna leaned against me as well, almost as if she were calculating the timing. Although, it could just be me overthinking it.
I want to stay like this forever.
Yeah.
It seems like the snow is starting to let up a little. What's the matter? Are you tired? After we got off the highway, Toma stopped her car on the side of the road.
Go ahead and join her in there.
Toma whispers this to me while looking at the back seat through her rearview mirror. Setsuna had dozed off in the back, and the way her head is tilted makes it look like she could tip over at any moment. We're less than an hour away, aren't we? Let's just keep going.
Don't hold back. I don't need a navigator anymore. I know the way from here on.
Setsuna was eagerly talking to us, trying her best to encourage everyone not to fall asleep until a moment ago. However, maybe because she's relieved that we are getting close to home, she finally reached her limit. I'll pass. I feel like I would also fall asleep immediately if I did that.
I don't mind if you sleep next to Setsuna. I'll wake you up once we arrive.
However, it's clearly our fault that Setsuna fell asleep. It wouldn't be funny if I found myself in heaven when I opened my eyes.
You still don't trust my driving skills. I can already go in reverse, make tight turns, parallel park, and all that.
Parallel parking is hard, so I'm impressed she can pull that off. When I could drive, I couldn't parallel park that well. So for a newbie doing that, I guess what's her definition of being able to parallel park is. If it's parallel park with no other cars around, yeah, that's easy. Parallel park in a spot that's just slightly bigger than your car, that's a bit more of a challenge. I do believe in your skills, but I don't believe that you're not tired.
I'm telling you, it's fine. I wouldn't fall asleep while driving.
Even so, the possibility of you falling asleep is not zero. But if another person is awake next to you, it's a lot closer to zero, right? The thing is, We weren't able to fully enjoy the trip until the very end.
Suit yourself.
Yeah, don't mind if I do.
In that case, if you're going to stay there in the passenger seat, promise me
What?
that you absolutely won't fall asleep. I'm afraid I might make a mistake.
You're not that familiar with the roads here, after all. Don't worry, I'll stay awake until we arrive, for sure.
I'm really counting on you.
We left the inn after having breakfast. We stopped by a rest stop and had lunch in the middle of our journey, and right around then, the only thing left to do was to head back home. Toma and I have both been talking noticeably less since. In the end, our mistake was having too much fun, being too happy. The end of any festivity is always the hardest part. This time, though, it bore down far more heavily than the school festival, and it bore down far more heavily than when the school festival ended. No, that's not it. It's because the events after the school festival are still weighing on our minds. It may be that we're at a loss for words now because our feelings overlap with our feelings from that day, when everything ended and so many things were settled.
Hey, Kitahara?
As I was possessed by the lonely thoughts, Toma finally spoke up when we stopped at a red light. In truth, she'd been trying to speak up for a while now. However, she would hesitate, and after shaking her head and sighing each time, she'd focus on driving for a little while. Rinse and repeat.
Thanks for everything.
Don't talk like you're leaving behind a will. After this one phrase from her, I understand the reason behind her recurrent hesitation. She was trying to do something she is incredibly unused to. Thanking me.
Just let me express my gratitude every once in a while, you imp.
I haven't really done anything worthy of your gratitude. Neither of us had the energy to deal with me saying, I don't want to be called that by you, and start an unnecessary argument over it.
If you hadn't dragged me out, I would never have turned out like this.
Something about the way you're saying that sounds resentful.
It does? Sorry, I'll rephrase it a bit.
Even so, Toma goes on in trying to sincerely express her gratitude to me, no matter how humiliating it might feel to her.
If you and Setsuna had never appeared in my life, I would have spent every day sleeping, doing whatever I wanted, and I would have continued living freely.
You're doing this on purpose, aren't you? I don't know what exactly spurred her on to do that, but at the very least, I can detect an unimaginable resentful air from her attempts to do so.
No, I can't put it into words. I know what I want to say, but it's like my mouth won't cooperate, you know?
That's enough. Receiving gratitude from you is just unpleasant.
You're cruel.
Nonetheless, it seems like she's really hurt by my words, and that's making me seem awful as a result. Not to mention, I was never really expecting any gratitude in return anyway.
Kitahara?
That's why I decided to refuse Toma's words of thanks. Everything I've done because I wanted to, and for my own sake. I hope Toma can accept this as a reward for her efforts. Not even for a moment did I think I was doing anything for you, Toma.
Setsuna refused the same way when I tried to thank her. Just accept it, would you? It's not fair.
No way. I'll accept it over my dead body. Personally, it just feels strange to hear words of gratitude when I don't feel like I've done anything to warrant it.
Is it the same when you stick your nose into other people's business? Do you joyfully do all of that as well?
I only do it for you and Setsuna, Toma. Which is why, if I hear any gratitude from anyone else, I'll make sure to act all cocky, encourage them to reflect on their actions in simple and detailed manner, and accept their gratitude, as that's the natural thing to do. And that's because they're not special to me.
I'll never forget those words.
Whereas this particular person, who I consider special to me, mutters something to herself at the end and starts driving again. Whereas this particular person, who I consider special to me, mutters something to herself. At the end, she starts driving again. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and so on. I have actually been to a hot springs before. Of course, it was in the Rocky Mountains of Canada, and was nothing like a Japanese onsen. It was more like a public swimming pool atmosphere. Everyone was wearing swimsuits, just a public change room, no inn or food or drinks. Also, it was the summer, so not that cold. Certainly no snow. From my memories, the water was too hot for my taste, and I didn't like the smell. I was just a kid at the time.